Do you feel lost in the scriptures? Start here. Welcome, friends. I am so excited to dive into the scriptures with you. This week, we are going to dive together into the entire Come Follow Me reading for this week. All right, what is the storyline for this week's Come Follow Me? Let's discover it together with Terrible Art.
Lehi and Ishmael's families are still camped out in the Valley of Lemuel. Even though they seem to have rushed out of Jerusalem, they were in no real rush to get to the Promised Land. They ended up traveling for 8 years in the Arabian Peninsula before Nephi built the ship for them to cross the ocean to the Promised Land. But while they were staying in the Valley of Lemuel, Nephi had the same vision as his father, with some added details, including the interpretation of symbols within the vision. Nephi also saw additional things that Lehi either didn't see or that we don't have a record of. Now, what did Nephi see? Basically, the entire history of the Christian church. He saw Jesus' miraculous conception, birth, and life, Jesus' mission and the mission of the 12 apostles, wars between the Nephites and Lamanites, the apostasy and loss of plain and precious truths from the Bible, Columbus discovering North America, the colonization of North America, the Revolutionary War and independence of the United States, the restoration of the gospel, the coming forth of the Book of Mormon, and the gospel spreading across the earth. And that's what's happening in Come Follow Me this week.
All right, investigate. I am so excited for this week's investigate because this is something brand new to me. So let's grab our scriptures. We're going to open them up and we are going to mark them up. So grab your markers, your pens, your scriptures, get it all, and let's dive into this together.
Okay, I hope you have all of your supplies ready to go because we are going to be diving into 1 Nephi 11, verse 35. And let's really quickly go back and double check what has been going on before this. So we are at the point where Nephi is still having his vision. And at this point in the vision, he has seen that Jesus has died and the apostles are continuing the work that Jesus started on the earth. And if we look at actually verse 34, it points out to us that there are people gathered together to fight against the apostles of the Lamb. So we will find in verse 35 that there are two specific groups that are called out. And that first group that's called out is the world. And it refers to the great and spacious building. So these are the prideful of the world. This is not surprising. Of course, they would be fighting against the apostles. But the second group is a little bit concerning. I'm going to underline this as well. It is the house of Israel. Now think about it. Anybody who is a member of the church, whether you were born into it, whether you joined the church later, you and I are of the house of Israel. So this is an opportunity to do a little bit of introspection. Do you think that there are members of the church, people who are part of the house of Israel, who fight against the apostles of the Lamb, the 12 apostles and our first presidency? Do you think there are people within the church who fight against them? And what do you think it is that leads people to fight against them? And how can you avoid that? This investigate section is getting personal, but let's ponder on that. We don't want to be part of that group.
All right, now it's time to verify. This is a rumor I have heard for years and did not know whether it was true or false. So we're going to dive into 1 Nephi 14. So grab your scriptures. Let's go into 1 Nephi 14. Okay, and we are reading verses 10 through 12. Well, actually just mostly 10. It says, behold, there are saved two churches only. The one is the church of the Lamb of God, and the other is the church of the devil. And it talks about, there is in verse 12, it talks about how there's the whore of all the earth. It says that in 11 as well. And I can still remember back in when I was 25, I was having a missionary over for dinner and he was talking about how that great and abominable church, he believed it was the Catholic Church. I feel bad even saying that, but he believed it was the Catholic Church. And I was like, oh, I don't think so, but maybe he's a missionary. He knows everything. I was 25. So I thought he must be right. But that really bugged me. I grew up around the corner from a Catholic church. I would go there for midnight mass. As a teenager, I went to midnight mass. Every single Christmas Eve, I would go to, my neighbors just behind me were Catholic. So we went to their weddings there. We would go to their special occasions at the Catholic Church. So I knew a lot of Catholics. I thought they were pretty awesome. And so this really bugged me. So let's dive in and find out, is this true? And what is the origin of this rumor? Well, it turns out that the origin of this rumor, it actually started with Parley P. Pratt years and years ago, but the more modern one that most people are aware of comes from Bruce R. McConkie, who was an amazing man, but he did have some opinions that were very much not correct. So in the very first copy of Mormon Doctrine, it stated that the great and abominable church, this whore of all the earth, was the Catholic Church. Awkward. However, the First Presidency did make it very clear that this book was not authorized by the church. It was not published by the church. This was his opinion. And then that information was actually removed from future versions of Mormon Doctrine. So what is the church's official stance on this? Well, there's not an official stance. It's not like the church has come out and said, hey, this is what we believe, and it's definitely not the Catholic Church. But I think that if you look at 1 Nephi 14:10, you'll actually find what the church says is what the scriptures say. And it just says that there's only two churches. It's those who are for God and those who are against him, right? For Jesus and against Jesus. I do not think that that is what the Catholic Church is. I do not think that they are against Jesus or fighting against him. So basically anything or anyone who stands against Jesus Christ would be considered part of that great and abominable church. And the Catholic Church absolutely is not against Jesus Christ. So no, is that rumor true? Absolutely not. It is false. All right, evidence, and I'm so excited about this. Our evidence for this week, we are going to be diving into, we're going into 1 Nephi 11. And this is one that you have probably noticed a lot, and it is what is called a Hebraism.
What did you say?
Now, what is a Hebraism? Webster's Dictionary defines Hebraism as a characteristic feature of Hebrew occurring in another language. So in an English text, like in the Book of Mormon, it's a phrase that sounds kind of weird to us, but in the original Hebrew, it would make perfect sense, right? To someone who grew up speaking and writing Hebrew, this makes sense. To us, it sounds a little bit awkward. So we have evidence of a Hebraism and many Hebraisms throughout the Book of Mormon. This week, let's dive into 1 Nephi 11. We're actually going to go to verse 25. So one such Hebraism is something that's known as the construct state. It's the addition of the word of in a noun phrase that doesn't really need it.
I hope you have your scriptures open and you're ready to mark these because this is such an exciting evidence. And I'm actually going to be using this little blue pen every time I find a Hebraism. And I'm going to keep notes here, but there are close to 1,000 occurrences of nouns in the construct state throughout the Book of Mormon. All right, I'm going to be jumping all over the place. Come along with me. This is going to be fun. We're going to find, I think, about 5 different evidences of the construct state just in the first few chapters of 1 Nephi. So starting with 1 Nephi 11, verse 25, it says rod of iron. In normal English, we would say iron rod, okay? Now let's go to 1 Nephi 3:24, plates of brass. We call them the brass plates. 1 Nephi 2:7, altar of stones. And oh, this is killing me because I can see another one right above it in verse 6. Do you see the one I'm missing? Okay. Now 1 Nephi 8, and I'm going to mark in verses 18 and 24, again, the rod of iron, but I see another one that I missed in verse 26. Do you see the one I missed? Oh, this is horrible. And then back to 1 Nephi 2, verse 6, I found it, that river of water instead of what other kind of river would there be? A river of chocolate? That actually would be nice, but river of water.
This was a Hebrew grammatical style that Joseph Smith would have known nothing about. Nothing. So is the Book of Mormon true? Yes, it is. But is this our only evidence? Nope. We're going to talk about more evidences every single week. So keep coming back and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of them. And subscribing also helps my videos get out to more people. So make sure you subscribe and share this with someone who might enjoy diving into the scriptures with us each week. All right. Remember, the scriptures are awesome and so are you. So go dive into them. I'm in a store and I'm singing.